What's up, O fans? It's Sam here with Olight Canada, and in conjunction with our colleagues over at Olight Germany, who just announced this awesome new product at their live event, it's my pleasure to help to introduce to you the Olight Javelot Turbo 2.
With a beam intensity measuring over 500,000 candela and a rated beam distance of 1.5 kilometers, the Javelot Turbo 2 is the most powerful flashlight in the Javelot series so far. With its carefully selected, high-intensity round die emitter and high-efficiency glass lens and polished reflector, the Turbo 2's cool white pencil beam is engineered for maximum distance. With that advanced LED and Olight's highly efficient drivers, the Turbo 2 can sustain its peak output of 1800 lumens for 5 minutes uninterrupted, high mode at 600 lumens for 6 hours, more than a day on medium and almost 2 weeks on its lowest setting. Incorporating an innovative wireless remote switch and the highly in-demand USB-C onboard charging and a full suite of integrated accessories, the Turbo 2 refines everything there is to love about the series. This Javelot's unique combination of high performance and high-tech features work together to answer the question, how far can Olight go?
I hope you guys are enjoying the drone footage we were able to capture with the Olight Javelot Turbo 2 and the DJI Mini 4 Pro. Shoutouts to the professional drone pilot behind the camera. Now, this is the first nice day that we've had out here in weeks, and it's still -5 degrees Celsius. So for more information and discussion about the Javelot Turbo 2, let's kick it back to Sam in the studio. Thank you, Sam. Great hat. Welcome back to the studio. There's so much to discuss about this fantastic long-range premium flashlight, and sure, it's one of those, but you know what else it is? It's a fully integrated flashlight system. What do I mean by that? Well, you saw how powerful the flashlight is all on its own, but let's consider the accessories. Here's the accessories. We have a case. Comes in the case. It's a very familiar Javelot style of case. The next one we got is this holster that does have a USB-C to USB-A cable in there. That comes with it. We also have a remote control and a remote control holder. It looks like a wrist strap. And of course, you could use it for this around camp or in the outdoors. We're going to talk about that a lot more a little bit later. And the remote control lanyard that comes pre-installed. Now, this is the attention to detail that Olight loves to include in their products. You can see a really nice holster, really nice materials and construction, but also the remote control for the flashlight and the lanyard come pre-installed just like this out of the box. So you know exactly how it's intended to be used, and it's just a really nice way to present the flashlight. You throw the light in there. You can see the holster holds the light. Lots of coverage, lots of protection, but nothing's ever going to happen to the remote control to accidentally cause it to come on while it's in there, and that's a very handy thing. And I should mention the carry attachments. You have got a D-ring here that you can use a carabiner to strap this anywhere you like, or on a belt loop. That's generally how I carry it. Or you could pass your belt through this Velcro strap, and that's a fine way to carry it as well. There will be filters available for these as well in red and green light, because those are in demand when it comes to this style of flashlight. This is a very well integrated system. Now that you have a good idea of what the light can do outdoors and the accessories it comes with, let's talk about the physical design. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'd expect nothing less from Olight, but it's also incredibly well manufactured. Have a look at this grip pattern with its offset knurling in those 3 different sections. Just a beautiful thing to look at, but also really great in the hand. Totally practical grip pattern, and a beautiful matte black finish as well. Coming up near the front, let's have a look at the side switch. Now, the side switch just has one set of indicators, and this is your voltage indicator. So you can click it once and the voltage will read out. You can see it's fully charged. That'll go down as the battery goes down. Now, on one side, you've got the USB-C port, which is incredibly in demand. We're going to talk a bit more about that later, but that's where it's located. Really satisfying click. And on the other side are these 3 magnetic charging contacts for use with the remote. It slaps on there, and that's how you can charge the remote. It also is used for pairing, but the remote does come paired out of the box. Another great attention to detail. Now, you might be asking, what is the remote control for? Well, by design, It's designed for firearms applications. However, don't let that scare you. You don't have to own a gun to buy a Javelot Turbo 2. But with that said, I don't plan on using it on any of my firearms. However, I could, and we'll show that a little bit later. The fact that it works at up to 10 meters and a lot further if you have line of sight direct between the flashlight and the remote, you can use it for a bunch of other things. I can imagine hanging this up in a tree somewhere around your camp. You're going about your business. If something happens, you can turn it on with the press of a button from somewhat reasonable distances. Now, it is limited to just turbo output. There's no low mode on this switch. And that's a bit of a compromise. I would have liked to see a high and a low like there is on the Warrior X4 switch. That would make it larger, more complex, uses more battery. Maybe it needs a different radio for sending 2 different on-off commands, and that makes the whole thing more expensive. So this, you get the wireless activity, but at a very affordable and very simple implementation. Olight believes in responding to the feedback of its community members and the industry as a whole. So what are the things that people are demanding? Well, the first is, across OFANs or Flashaholics everywhere, they want onboard USB charging. People are asking for it. Olight is hearing those requests and is delivering where possible. They've certainly delivered here. The maximum convenience of being allowed to both use the magnetic charging cable, they didn't do away with it, having the option to choose between both depending on your needs or depending on the setting. And I can appreciate that for sure. Onboard USB charging, it's going to be super convenient for charging it up in the truck. The only downside is the ingress protection rating goes down from IP68 on the previous Javelot to IP67. So you can't take it swimming. That's a compromise that you have to be aware of. Of course, IP67 is still very water resistant. If you drop it in a puddle and you fish it out, you're fine. If it spends an hour at the bottom of the lake, you might not be okay. So keep that in mind when you're enjoying your USB-C charging. But for that small compromise, you get the convenience and you actually get a lot faster charging speed as well. USB-C will charge the light from flat to full in 4.5 hours compared to a 7.5 hour charge time using the magnetic cable. So that's a pretty significant increase in the charging efficiency with the USB-C as well. Now, the next piece of feedback that Olight got from their community and from the flashlight industry as a whole is about their LED choices. Now, what's very interesting is during the prototype phase of this light, which I was fortunate to have, it had a very similar LED to the mononymous Javelot. I don't say original because it's not the first one, but it's called the Javelot. And this LED in some cases could have a greenish tint. Well, during the prototype phase, people had a look at this. They said it's a premium product at a high price point. A green LED simply won't do. So Olight was very intentional about picking a much better, higher quality LED while still getting that round die emitter. Now, the round die emitter is a very contemporary technology. A lot of long-range flashlights are going to this round die emitter. What I mean by that, if you had a square LED at the back of this reflector, sure, the reflector would do a lot of work to make that hotspot nice and round, but it's even more efficient if the light coming out of the LED is already round shaped to begin with, resulting in an even more intense beam than it otherwise would be. It's a very pure tone, still cool white in its temperature, but very, very pure in its tint. And the visuals speak for themselves there. In this shot, I want to show you the difference between the tint from the prototype, I believe is on the left, the production model right there in the middle, that gorgeous beam, and then the old Javelot Pro 2 on the right-hand side, maybe a little bit green, especially when you compare it to this pure, awesome beam of the Javelot Turbo 2. Now let's talk a little bit about beam pattern. Now there's no Goldilocks about it. This thing is extremely intense in its hotspot. It's the tiniest little pinprick of light that you get pushing out there. You've seen the video. You know exactly what I'm talking about. On something like this, where the Javelot Pro 2, where it wants to be a long-range flashlight, but it wants to have some versatility in mind, this has no chill. This is all about distance. A small hotspot is going to go further than a large hotspot, and that's just the state of the art right now. So when you buy this, know that it has a very narrow, exceedingly narrow beam, and some of the most beam intensity that Olight's ever put out in an LED. And the last piece of feedback that Olight has received from the industry is that people want user serviceable batteries. On the Javelot Pro 2, your battery was your handle. So it's a battery handle assembly. If you need a new battery or you want to swap your batteries, you'd have to swap the whole handle. And on special editions like this Desert Camo, that can be troublesome. So the Javelot Turbo 2 adopts a huge user serviceable battery. So have a look at this guy right here. Now the good news is, at the end of this battery's service life, you can order another one, plug it in there, and you're good to go. Your light will last all that much longer using a new user serviceable battery. Now that we've covered both performance and features, let's talk a little bit about user interface. Now, all the items you see behind me have a very similar and widely regarded as being quite excellent user interface. The Javelot series is a bit of a departure. The tail cap and the side switch are different. Let's start with the tail cap. A half press is going to get you into the lowest possible mode. A full press is going to get you into turbo. That's different from like a Warrior Mini 3 where that half press gets you into medium mode. An EDC type of light going direct access to medium mode, that's going to accomplish a lot for you. On a dedicated outdoor premium long range flashlight, that medium mode can be overpowering in some situations. So if you're just walking around, that low mode is really all you need, because with such an intense hotspot, you're still seeing dozens of meters, maybe a dozen meters ahead of you with that lowest mode. Out and about, sneaking around after dark, that low setting is quite handy. And then of course that full brightness, can't beat it. You definitely want direct access to your full brightness. And just in case anyone's unfamiliar, the tail cap gives you access to both constant on and momentary on. So a quick press will turn the light on in constant mode, and a quick press will turn it off. If you press and hold, then you get your momentary setting. So as long as you're pressing and holding the flashlight, the light will stay on. As soon as you release the button, it'll turn off. Now the side switch is where things continue to be interesting. All the other side switch lights, the batons, the seekers, one click to turn it on, one click to turn it off, press and hold to change modes. Just beautiful user interface. The Javelot is different. You have to press and hold from off to turn it on. One click to change modes. One of the advantages to having the press and hold from off to turn on is the fact that if the light's off, you can actually click the button one time, and you can actually see the voltage indicator come on without the light coming on. So you pick up the light, you're like, huh, I wonder if it's fully charged. One click and you see that indicator. So that's one small advantage that you get with the press and hold from off. And then it makes it very simple to change modes. You can change as fast as you want. There's only 4 brightness settings, so you can click through them all the way back down to low if you want, all the way up to high. So it's different from the other ones, but it's not necessarily worse. And lastly, on user interface, I forgot to mention before Miles here showed up, is the side switch has mode memory. So whatever mode you leave it off in will come back on when you press and hold to turn it on. So it will memorize any mode, low, medium, high, or turbo. So if you want to leave it in high mode, you know that when you turn it back on, it'll be on high mode no matter what, if that's where you left it. So of course, if you turn it on in low or turbo using the tail cap switch, it will remember that as well. If you want to use it on your firearm, which may or may not be legal where you live, you have to have a good reason to do so. But if you have a good reason, you can have this on the front end of your gun, and you can use the switch somewhere near the back end of your gun so that you can turn it on without having to worry about one of those traditional remote firearm switches like this one. Now, of course, this one does still work. This is the one that you get in the Warrior X4 kit. The one you get in the Odin S kit works as well. But now you got a wireless one. You don't have to worry about the wire anymore. But another really interesting way to use this is with that firearms application. You can just thread the lanyard through this little wrist strap. It's fairly easy to do. Pulls through quite nicely. Snaps in there very nice. This is sort of a rubberized material. Very lightweight, water resistant. Snaps in there very securely. So now again, wear it around your wrist, or you can, if you have a firearm, much like the one I have here, right here. This is sort of a traditional 30-30 Marlin lever gun. And if you wanted to put your flashlight ahead of this thing, which you could do if you had that magnetic mount that we were talking about, it would sit kind of right there. But what do you do with the remote switch? Well, with the remote switch, with the optional accessory, you can just thread that right around your fore end and pull it tight, and then you have your button right there on your fore end. So, and then you don't have to deal with the cable going from one to the other. It's this is part of the design intent of this remote control, and it's been implemented fairly well. You can do that if that's something you want. Of course, you don't need to own a gun to buy a Javelot Turbo 2. You can use it however you like. And there you have it. Almost every single interesting thing I can think to say about the Javelot Turbo 2. If you need a premium long-range flashlight, or you know a friend who does, go ahead and point them in the direction of the Javelot Turbo 2. Available in black. There might be a green one. Let's hope that there's a green one, and available with some additional accessories in the future. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you learned a thing or two, please leave a like. I really appreciate those. Subscribe to the Olight Canada YouTube channel. Plenty of bright things ahead in the near future.